Good evening. I am Vice Chair Reva Chambliss, and it's time to begin this meeting of the Metropolitan Council for Wednesday, April 26th, 2023. I call the meeting to order. We have one change to this evening's agenda, which is business item 2023, same week, which will be moved from consent business to non-consent.
Where is this?
Are there any other changes to the agenda or any objections?
Madam Chair, which item was it again?
Business item 2023-93.
Oh, I thought you said 90. Yeah,
On
fourth
here?
one.
Oh, it's already been adjusted.
Oh, I thought she said 2023-93.
It's not one of mine, right?
Okay, it's already been adjusted and moved to the transportation section.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Good question. Okay, the first order of business is approval of the minutes for the April 12th council meeting. Can I have a motion and second to approve?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. The motion is adopted. At this point in the meeting, members of the public who wish to address the council on matters that are not on the agenda may do so. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And at this point, we have one person on the pre-registered list to speak, Susan Mercurio. Not seeing Susan, we will move on. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Doesn't look like it. So our next order of business is to approve the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Vento and seconded by Lindstrom. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. The motion carries. On the consent agenda, or on the non-consent business section, we will hear from the standing committees. First, we'll hear from the Community Development Committee. With Councilmember Lilligren absent, it will be Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and council members, business item 2023-87 is to authorize staff to apply for a grant from the EPA's Carbon Pollution Reduction Grant Program. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is making available $1 million to each of the 67 largest metropolitan statistical areas in the nation to create or update a regional climate action plan for the respective metropolitan area. The Minneapolis-St. Paul Bloomington MSA, comprising the 7-county metropolitan area and 8 additional surrounding counties in Minnesota and Wisconsin, is eligible for receiving these funds. Each MSA is responsible for designating a lead agency to coordinate the planning work. The council has engaged with numerous cities and all of the counties and has received support to be the lead agency for coordinating the grant, the planning activities, and reporting to the EPA on results. Council Policy FM 15-1, Income/Grants, allows for the council to apply for and enter into agreements with other governments which provide income or grants to the council, which are consistent with the council's missions and priorities. The policy requires council approval for grants exceeding $500,000. The requirements of the Climate Action Plan include establishing near-term and long-term reduction goals and identifying measures to achieve these goals. The Climate Action Plan must also include a low-income and disadvantaged communities benefits analysis, workforce planning analysis, and a review of authority to implement the strategies and actions in the plan. Council staff find that the required deliverables align with the climate work that is planned for the 2050 Regional Development Guide. This opportunity builds on the state climate action framework, as well as a significant number of local climate action planning efforts that have already been completed by cities and counties in the region. This grant will support coordinating climate policy and action work across the region through the additional resources that it will bring to our region. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the Executive Director of the Community Development Division to develop and submit a notice of intent to participate as the lead agency, a grant application, and related materials for the Environmental Protection Agency's Climate Pollution Reduction Grants Program. Number 2, negotiate and execute the cooperative agreement with the Environmental Protection Agency.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? On none, no discussion, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay, the motion carries. Thank you, Councilmember Vento. We will move on to the Environment Committee, which is Peter Lindstrom, right next to Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the council. Tonight we have business item 2023-83. And this requests that the council regional administrator execute a sole source contract 23P036 with Siemens Energy to provide replacement parts, repair, installation, and commissioning services for a steam turbine generator in an amount not to exceed $2 million. During a 5-year preventative maintenance inspection at the Metropolitan, it was discovered that one of our steam turbine generators has some corrosion and erosion and a bowed rotor shaft. And the cost for refurbishing this rotor would be more expensive and time-consuming than obtaining a new one. Siemens Energy is the original equipment manufacturer for this steam generator, and this will allow us to avoid any sort of re-engineering components or running the risks of pieces not fitting correctly. The price of the quotes received for parts and services are compatible to previous quotes, to typical industry costs, and have been determined to be fair and reasonable. The sole source contract with Siemens Energy will complete the following services: repair and rehabilitate the turbine casing, extraction case, and diaphragms, replace rotor shaft, discs, blades, shrouds, and assemble rotor, provide other replacement parts as required for reassembly, install a new rotor, and reassemble the steam turbine, installation and commissioning services. Therefore, Madam Chair and members of the council, I move that the Met Council Regional Administrator execute sole source contract 23P036 with Siemens Energy to provide replacement parts, repair, installation, and commissioning services for a steam turbine generator in an amount not to exceed $2 million.
That motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Cedarberg. So is there any discussion? No discussion, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries. Thank you so much for that business item. And it looks like our next item is on the Management Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be reporting on item 2023-79. It's award transit, wastewater, and park bonds within established financial parameters. This is business item, again, 2023-79 with resolutions 2023-02, 2023-3, and 2023-4. The council is preparing to issue general obligation bonds to fund approximately 12 months of projected capital expenditures for transit, wastewater, and parks. This business item requests adoption of resolutions 23-2, 23-3, and 23-4, which will authorize the issuance, sale, and award to the lowest bidder of 3 bond series. The resolutions state that the bonds can only be sold within specific size, interest rate, and timing parameters. Resolution 2023-2 authorizes general obligation transit bonds in an amount not to exceed $57 million at a maximum interest rate of 4%. Expecting about 3% though, so that's kind of our high limit on that. The transit bonds will fund various transit capital improvement program expenditures and will be repaid by property tax levies. Resolution 23-3 authorizes general obligation wastewater revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $102 million at a maximum interest rate of 5%. However, we're expecting about 3.75%. The wastewater bonds will fund various environmental services, capital improvement program expenditures, and are expected to be repaid with wastewater system revenues. Resolution 23-4 authorizes general obligation park bonds in an amount not to exceed $4.7 million at a maximum interest rate of 4.25%, but we're expecting about 3.10% on that. The park bonds will fund various park system improvement expenditures and will be repaid by property tax levies. All three resolutions establish that the bonds must be sold within 90 days. The projected sale date is May 16th. These bond financings support the Thrive Lens outcomes of stewardship, and general obligation bonds are an efficient and low-cost funding source for capital project expenditures. With this, Madam Chair, I will move that the Metropolitan Council adopt parameters resolutions 23-2, 23-3, and 23-4, which authorize the issuance, sale, and award of general obligation debt within established financial parameters, incurrence of related insurance expenses, and execution of documents necessary to secure the financings.
Motion has been made for management item 2023-79. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Tony Carter. Is there any discussion? Tony. Commissioner Carter. I'm sorry, Councilmember Carter.
That's good, Tony. I'd like to ask the term of the bonds, the period of time the bonds are to be issued.
Can you, I did not hear, can you repeat, please?
The term.
You want to know what the term of the bond is? Okay.
Madam Chair, Mark Thompson is here, our Director of Finance, and he can report on the term. Yeah, great question, thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. Mark Thompson, I'm the Director of Treasury, and Council Member, the transit bonds, we do a 10-year term. The park bonds are a 4-year term, and the wastewater bonds are 20-year.
Okay.
That's our standard format.
Appreciate that. And I simply did not know that at this time, but thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussions or questions? Seeing none, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Without objection, I'd like to move to the third item under management right now. I'm waiting for the printed out report for the item that is 2023-84, the labor agreement with Law Enforcement Labor Services, so that'll be here momentarily. So without objection, I'd like to move on to the third.
Sure,
That'd be
go
okay?
ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 2023-89, this is the Metropolitan Council Blanket Builders Risk Property Insurance. Business item 2023-89 seeks council authorization to pay the insurance premium related to the council's blanket builders risk property insurance program provided by Liberty Mutual in an amount not to exceed $1.35 million. A builder's risk insurance policy provides coverage for the property damage during a construction period or construction project. Generally, either the owner of the construction project or its contractors provide this type of insurance. Historically, the council required its contractors to procure and maintain the insurance, with the premium cost typically being included in their bid. However, in 2018, the council implemented a blanket builder's risk program that had the council obtain the insurance, removing the requirement from its contractor. The main benefits of this approach include lower rates, coverage certainty, and the removal of potential barriers for small contractors related to insurance market access. And I would just expand on that last part a little bit, as we're really working to make sure that we get our MCUB and DBE small businesses, minority-owned, women-owned businesses into that pipeline to receive some of these contracts. And as we've really worked to break down the contracts into smaller bites, this became real burdensome for some of them. So this is going to be relieving that burden, and we'll be taking that over, but we'll still be fully insured for each of those projects. So again, it's another part. It's not only good operations here, but it's good governance as it relates to trying to again spend into the DBE and MCUB world that we're trying to do more in. So with that, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the payment of the insurance premium related to the council's blanket builder's risk insurance property risk insurance provided by Liberty Mutual in an amount not to exceed $1.35 million.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Tyrone Carter. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. That motion passes.
And Madam Chair, I am now working on getting the talking points for the last item. Oh, I'm sorry. 8-4. That's the wrong one. All righty, we're back in business.
All right.
Madam Chair, thank you for your patience. Again, so this is item 2023-84. It's the labor agreement with Law Enforcement Labor Services, known as LELS Local 203. This business item is authorization to enter into a labor agreement with Law Enforcement Labor Services Local 203 police supervisors. The Metropolitan Council's labor agreement with Law Enforcement Labor Services, LELS Local 203, expired on December 31st of 2022. The unit represents 27 sworn supervisory employees in the titles of sergeant and lieutenant. The parties reached a tentative agreement on March 6th of 2023, and the membership ratified the agreement on April 3rd of this year. Highlights of the agreement include a one-year contract and a 2.5% general wage increase to all members of the bargaining unit. The general increase is consistent with increases offered to LELS represented employees, and the one-year agreement aligns with negotiation cycle with our other LELS contracts. The cost of the labor agreement was reviewed by Finance and was negotiated within the economic parameters established by the Council. The item was reviewed and approved by the Management Committee on April 12th of this year. With that, Madam Chair, I would move that the Council approve the Regional Administrator to authorize and enter into a labor agreement with the Law Enforcement Labor Service Local 2023, effective January 1st of 2023 through December 31st of 2023.
Thank you for that motion. Councilmember Johnson, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Wolf. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'd like to ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay, so that motion carries. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
those
Madam Chair.
items. Next, we have transportation on the agenda with business item 2023-24.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, council members, business item number 2023-24 is for the Metropolitan Council to authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the engineering services consultant contract 22P103A with Kimley Horn and Associates for consultant services for the Metro Blue Line light rail extension. The council needs to contract for engineering services for the BLRT project to continue to advance through engineering. The consultant will provide services including preliminary engineering, final engineering, and vehicle and fare collection support, utilizing the available funding provided by Hennepin County and HICRA through their existing capital grant agreement, or CGA, with the Metropolitan Council for the Blue Line LRT extension. A limited notice to proceed is proposed for this contract, which would allow the Blue Line extension project to stay on schedule while the parties negotiate the next CGA. The current CGA expires May 31st, 2023, but could be amended to extend for up to 2 additional months without adding additional funds. To issue additional LNTPs for this contract beyond that, the Metropolitan Council would need to act on either 1, a new CGA, or 2, another amendment to the existing CGA, which would include additional funds. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the engineering services consultant contract 22P103A with Kimley Horn and Associates for consultant services for the Metro Blue Line light rail extension project in an amount not to exceed $96,375,448 and issue a limited notice to proceed, number 1, in an amount of $9.3 million.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Vento. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead,
Thank you.
Councilmember.
I really appreciate the manner that this is coming forward, and I understand that it's limited notice and that it gets us kind of through that next phase that we're in right now as it relates to Blue Line work. I would say, as a council member who has been fully briefed on the risk through our new Transit Ways Advancement Policy, and I know not all the new council members haven't received that yet, I'm really torn on this because I know it needs to move forward, but at the same time, for me personally, with the information that I've been briefed, I don't think I can support this tonight because I don't want to give it the impression that it's just continuing to move on until we are all fully briefed and have some more time to just kind of maybe review the project as we get through the end of June. So with all due respect, I will vote no on this, but I appreciate the way it's coming forward. And I'm not in full disagreement with this vote, but for me, I'm starting to signal that I've got some concern on the mode for Blue Line, and I think it's just gonna need a little more time once we get past this next phase, which I know we will fully have all the new council members be brought up to speed. The current council members have been briefed, and maybe we can just have a little bit more robust discussion, and also recognizing that there are some out in community that are also kind of speaking up right now, wanting more information. So that's where I'm landing on this one. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, I see a hand up. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, I appreciate the comments. Just so council members understand sort of the steps that are happening. One, we have to go to Hennepin County to have them extend the current agreement into June. With the attention during that time, as we're doing this, there's an opportunity to both work out the new capital grant agreement, but also for us to work through some of the elements of our Transit Way Advancement policy and apply it to this project. So this is helping. It's just a collision of some timelines, and we just need a little more time to complete that work.
Thank you for that explanation. Any further questions? Councilmember Dilk.
Could I ask a clarifying question? I'm a little confused. Is there currently a discussion about Blue Line, about changing the mode from light rail to something else?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
There is no official conversation happening right now. My comments are coming forward just based on some enterprise risk discussion as it relates to the Transit Ways Advancement Policy. I would, however, agree 100% with Councilmember Barber that we need to move this forward at an interim phase and then, as she mentioned, renegotiate things and address risk. So for me, however, in my vote and how it's impacting part of my district as well, I don't want to signal that this is just moving along. I think that there still needs to be some more discussion. And I will say too, I appreciated the discussion that took place at the Transportation Committee meeting. I attended that, and there was some very good discussion around displacement, all of that. But tonight, it is to just continue to at least fund where the project is at and keep the office moving forward. For me personally, I'm signaling that I think, based on what I know, there should be further look once we get past this next phase.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just want to clarify, Hennepin County Board wants to continue to pay for this. This is their money, right?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Councilmember Barber.
Yes, that is correct. These funds this is Hennepin County funding that goes through to the project at this point.
So I guess, to me, since we haven't yet gotten to a node where we can deal with the risk issues, which will be coming, it's Hennepin County's money, so they can spend their money. I don't want to be blamed if it doesn't turn out the way that they wanted to, but if they know that risk and want to keep spending money on the project, that's their decision, and so I respect that.
Councilmember Barber.
Madam Chair, thank you for those comments. We have had preliminary meetings with Hennepin County about the Transit Way Advancement Policy and the concept of enterprise risk as we've been discussing as a council. as I mentioned, sort of a collision of timelines. This current CGA expires at the end of the month, and then funding runs out. To be able to complete those discussions, and we need some ongoing, a little more time, to be honest. And a lot of it will happen framed around the next capital grant agreement, which is really that's where a lot of our policy will be applied.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for that explanation. Good questions. Is there any further discussion or additional questions? Seeing none, is there the motion has been made and it has been seconded. We've had discussion. I'd like to take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One opposed. The motion carries. Thank you. Next transportation item.
Chair, council members, business item number 2023-25 is for Metropolitan Council to authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the project management services consultant contract for consulting services for the Metro Blue Line extension. The Metropolitan Council needs to contract for project management services for this project. The consultant will provide services including project management services, capital investment grants, program submittals, project controls, independent cost estimating, scheduling, public outreach and communication support, safety and security expertise, and quality program oversight, utilizing the available funding provided by Hennepin County and HICRA through their existing capital grant agreement with the Metropolitan Council for the Blue Line LRT extension. A limited notice to proceed is proposed for this contract work, which would allow the Blue Line extension project to stay on schedule while the parties negotiate the next CGA. The current CGA expires May 31st, 2023, but could be amended to extend for up to 2 additional months without adding additional funds. To issue additional LNTPs for this contract beyond that, the Metropolitan Council would need to act on either a new CGA or another amendment to the existing CGA, which would include additional funding. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the project management services consultant contract 22P103B with WSP USA Incorporated for consultant services for the Metro Blue Line Light Rail Transit Extension Project in an amount not to exceed $24,185,383 and issue limited notice to proceed number 1 in an amount of $1.5 million.
The business item 2023-25, motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Carter. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a vote. Is all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
That motion carries. Thank you. Next item, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You'll notice a theme, but we have one more. Madam Chair, council members, business item number 2023-26 is for the Metropolitan Council to authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the risk management services consultant contract for the Metro Blue Line Light Rail Transit Extension. The Metropolitan Council needs to contract for risk management services for this project. The consultant will provide services including risk assessments and risk management, peer reviews, value engineering, and constructability reviews. Utilizing the available funding provided by Hennepin County and HICRA through their existing capital grant agreement with the Metropolitan Council for the Blue Line LRT extension, a limited notice to proceed is proposed for this contract, which would allow the Blue Line extension project to stay on schedule while the parties negotiate the next CGA. To issue additional LNTPs for this contract beyond that, the Metropolitan Council would need to act on either a new CGA or another amendment to the existing CGA, which would include additional funding. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the risk management services consultant contract 22P103C with HDR Incorporated for consultant services for the Metro Blue Line Light Rail Transit Extension Project in an amount not to exceed $3,216,641 and issue limited notice to proceed number 1 in an amount not to exceed $240,000.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Tony Carter. Any discussion? Question
Madam Chair,
by Councilmember Dokar.
I have a request. I'm wondering after this vote, if we could get 5 minutes of the staff time to just walk us through for the new council members, just situate where all these three are in the timelines of the blue line. I feel like I have a fairly good sense of where the project is at. I have a very good sense of where the alignment is at. But I'm having a little bit of difficulty just based on the discussion and the concern raised by Councilmember Johnson on how this situates between now to FTA and the discussion with Hennepin County. So I think I'm happy to do this offline too, but maybe there are other new council members who have similar questions to I do.
Councilmember
After
Dokar,
this vote is
Nick
fine.
Thompson is going to come up and talk to your questions about these business items and their relations to the motions that are present today.
Okay, thank you. Really
Madam
appreciate it.
Chair and council members, did you want to complete the vote first, or do you want us to answer questions now?
We can go ahead and continue your information.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, council members, Nick Thompson, interim executive director of the division, new division, and with me is Chris Beckwith, the project director for Blue Line. So should we step back a little bit, talk about the project, where we're at? So the project has been in development. We are in the development of the draft EIS phase of the project, as we've got a new alignment under consideration. The existing, what these three contracts before you are engineering, essentially we've been calling them the engineering contracts. They're the consultant support for delivery of the design, risk management, project controls of the project. We have, the project itself has had similar contracts in place as the project's been developing over the past several years. With the new alignment, new schedule, we decided we needed to, those contracts were sort of coming to the end. We needed to procure new contracts for engineering services. And so that's what's before you. We've split these contracts into 3 separate contracts in order to get a strong competitive bidding environment versus there was some concern about only getting one bid if it was all the services were within one contract. But also on advice of lessons learned from our other transit ways about separating out some of the scopes. Cost estimating and engineering were in different contracts. Were recommendations and learnings from our Southwest LRT project, Green Line Extension. So we are moving these forward to you, but at the same time, as Councilmember Wolf mentioned, these are funded by the local partner. We are the grant, we are awarding these through a grant we have with Hennepin County in this instance. And the Hennepin County grant agreement has been in place for several years and we've been amending it and adding either time or money. But we, through both direction of the council and I think desire of the Hennepin County Board, was to create a new grant agreement to handle the project going forward. There was a lot of direction that we wanted different terms about how we have a relationship with the local funding partner based on how we've developed the Transitway Advancement Policy, things we've learned from the existing projects. And so ideally, we would have the new capital grant agreement fully in place before we move these contracts forward. But we've been in negotiations, I think, with the county for over 5 months about the terms. And we're getting to the point, I think, where the terms are, getting to the final issues that need to be resolved before we bring that forward to this council for approval. If and when that capital grant agreement is agreed to by Hennepin County and the council, it will cover the life of the project and bring new funding, local funding to the project to cover the full extent of contracts like this. The Hennepin County is the local funding partner with the FTA. So we're kind of coming to the end of the previous process and starting the new process with these contracts. And the timing issue is that the council has identified that they want to resolve key risks in the capital grant agreement on this project and some of our other projects where we have funding gaps and other risks. And so those will be resolved partly through the capital grant agreement, which we need to resolve in June before So the actions you're taking tonight will allow the engineering contracts to be signed, but only go through June. And we need to resolve that other grant agreement to go beyond that. But in the meantime, the project is working through the phase with our developing the kind of the final alignment for the draft environmental impact with several key decisions about the route, because there's alternatives within Minneapolis that are not determined yet, and options. And so both in May and June, there's public engagement on that. The city of Minneapolis needs to voice their opinion about which of the options are the preferred in their case. Ideally, we would get to one route this summer that could be part of the draft environmental impact statement. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. I don't know if that fully answered your question, but we're
That
happy
fully
to take
answered
more.
my question. I think that's what I was trying to situate between, like, do we have a grant agreement with Hennepin County, and is this authorizing the money? So it sounds like we're still working out the grant agreement. Thank you.
Madam Chair, these actions tonight will be covered through June under the old grant agreement that has enough money remaining in it, but we're getting to the end of that financially, and there's a strong desire to replace the agreement terms within it on how we operate with Hennepin County.
Makes sense. Thank you so much for your questions. I think that was helpful for other council members as well as your explanation to provide context for our council members. Councilmember Carter.
And this is a detail, but still has some relevance. As I read through one of these actions, there was a incomplete sentence. It said through nothing. And I anticipate that it would have said through June, were that necessary, but because you've limited the amounts to be spent to the dollars that are left, and maybe not in each case are there limits to those dollars that are that finite, but you've limited the dollars in any case, so that through June is not needed, I'm assuming.
Councilmember, go ahead, Nick.
Madam Chair, Councilmember, yes, that is correct. Chris noticed that as we were about to come up here too. So yeah, it ends at the dollar
It's all
amount.
good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good question, thank you. Any other questions or comments or discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Is that a no that you are not opposed?
I vote no because I'm opposed.
Oh, okay, one
Yes.
opposed.
Yeah.
The motion carries. Next, we have the Green Line business item, 2023-75.
Thank you. Madam Chair, council members, business item number 2023-75 is for the Metropolitan Council to authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute construction cost estimating service contracts for the Metro Green Line Extension project. A cost estimate is developed independent of the contractor's estimate and is used to support change order negotiations. Currently, the advanced design consultant, the engineer of record, which is led by AECON, performs the cost estimating services. As part of the council's procurement process and FTA guidelines, staff review competitively procured contracts that may need to be extended to determine if the entire contract or parts of it can be competitively procured. After such a review, the council determined that ADC's cost estimating portion of the contract should be competitively procured. This approach is consistent with MnDOT's peer review recommendation. AECOM will continue to serve as the engineer of record on the project. The evaluation panel, consisting of council staff and representatives from Hennepin County and MnDOT, ranked HNTB's technical proposal as the most advantageous to the council and its funding partners. The negotiating panel reviewed HNTB's cost proposal and successfully negotiated a fair and reasonable price for the scope of work. HNTB's proposal meets the 18% DBE goal goal established for this contract. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contract 22P336 with HNTB to provide construction cost estimating services for the Metro Green Line Extension project in an amount not to exceed $12,708,234.98.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
by Councilmember Pacheco.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Question by Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I totally understand why we would want to have checks and balances there and not use the same consultant for both things. Are we anticipating that we are going to save $12 million on the ADC account, or is this going to be an additional cost?
We'll have Nick Thompson come up.
I believe it's not an additional cost, but
Madam Chair, council members, currently the scope that this is within an AECom contract that we will now take that scope out of their contract. So this is work that would have occurred under one contract is going to be within a new contract. And so, and this is a maximum amount. If we don't need the services, we won't spend it. So it is essentially moving to a new budget, but yes, we're not duplicating a service.
Great, thank you.
thank you for that question, actually.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. That motion passes. Next business item, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, council members, business item number 2023-93, same week, deals with 3 project changes in the Transportation Improvement Plan program. The 3 projects do not include regional solicitation funding. MnDOT requests cost increases to 3 of its bus purchases in the Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Persons with Disabilities program. MnDOT requests a change in scope for its Minnesota 62 Noisewell project, and Southwest Transit requests changes related to a clean transportation grant project. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt an amendment to the 2023 through 2026 Transportation Improvement Program to amend 3 projects.
That motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cameron. Let's take, is there any discussion? Sorry. Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move the following amendment, that the Metropolitan Council adopt an amendment to the 2023-2026 Transportation Improvement Program to amend 3 projects as shown in the amended business item.
The motion has been made and amended. Is there a second?
Second.
The proposed amendment has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Discussion, comment by Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yesterday, MnDOT requested changes to the funding amounts to a price increase in the bus purchase item in the business item. The amended item increases the project amounts with federal and state funds. It's all MnDOT, it's not us. So we're not spending any money on this.
Thank you for that clarification.
It's always good to know.
Yes, it is. Any further discussion or questions? So I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The proposed action as amended carries. Thank you. Next, we will have.
Chair?
Madam
don't we have
Chair,
to vote
point of
again
order.
on the full motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor of the proposed action as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I'm sorry. All in favor of the motion as amended, say aye again, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Sometimes these amendments get a little tricky, so I apologize.
So just to be clear, you all voted to amend it,
And it became.
and then you voted on the amendment, or you voted on the action as amended, and the business item as amended is online for the viewing public to see what the final product was that was voted on.
Thank you so much. We have a joint report. That's our last report today. That's 2023-62. That'll be Councilmember Vento.
Madam Chair and committee members, business item 2023-62 is to authorize the Afton 2040 Comprehensive Plan and approve their comprehensive sewer plan. Afton provides centralized wastewater services to a limited portion of their community, so this plan was heard in the Community Development and Environment Committees. Council staff found that the 2040 plan conforms to the regional system plans, is consistent with council policies, and is compatible with the plans of adjacent and affected jurisdictions. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt the attached review record and take the following actions. From the Community Development Committee, there are two recommendations. One, to authorize the City of Afton to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect, and two, advise the city to implement the advisory comments in the review record for transportation and water supply. And from the Environment Committee, to approve the City of Afton's comprehensive sewer plan.
The motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you so much. That concludes the joint reports, and we have an item which is other business, 2023-100. Unless a council member would like to discuss any of these recommendations individually or has a question, I will make one motion to move these committee appointment recommendations. Per council bylaws, the council chair shall recommend to the council for approval at its first regular meeting in February or as soon as possible thereafter the chair members and responsibilities of each standing committee. This action was taken on March 8th. The council chair may also recommend to the council for its approval the chair, members, and duties of special committees. Membership and leadership will be reviewed annually by the chair in accordance with the council bylaws. Therefore, I move that the council approve these special and advisory committees, commissions, and board assignments as recommended by the chair and pursuant to council bylaws. Article 3. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Carter. Any discussion?
Yeah, we're gonna get a list of when these committees meet.
Yes, I believe that all these assignments, the individuals that have been assigned will be contacted in terms of the future meetings. Any other questions or discussion on the assignments? Seeing none, I will ask to take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. That concludes other business, and we will prepare to go into a closed session.
Madam Chair, I would move that this meeting be closed to the public pursuant to Minnesota statutes, section 13D.03, subdivision 1, so that we can discuss labor strategy amongst the council.
Thank you, Council Member Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, the governing body of a public employer by majority vote in a public meeting may decide to hold a closed meeting under the provisions of section 13D.03, subdivision 1B of the Minnesota statutes. The discussion at a meeting closed under this law must be confined to labor negotiation strategies, developments, and/or discussion and review of labor proposals. The proceedings of a meeting closed under this law will be tape recorded, preserved for 2 years, and made available to the public as provided by law. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carried. Thank you. For the record, please note that this meeting was closed to the public at 5:53 p.m. on April 26, 2023.
4:50.
I will now take a motion to reopen the meeting for report.
Madam Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry.